Minister, shockingly more than 1,000 people, the vast majority of who are women, attended a sexual assault treatment unit last year. This is the first time that the figure has actually ever surpassed 1,000. And the number of people actually that attended those assault units jumped by 20%, more than 200 people extra last year. And the truth of the matter is, it's actually only the tip of the iceberg of actually what's happening. Typically, international studies have shown that those who present to these types of units are only the tip of the iceberg. And shockingly, a fifth of those who presented were actually children. The question I've asked for the Minister is, what are we doing to lower the number of sexual assaults that are happening in Ireland?
Thank you, An Garda, and thank the Deputy for his question. As can be seen from the Zero Tolerance Strategy published by Minister Helen McEntee last summer, the Government is committed to tackling sexual violence in all of its forms. The Government's plan recognises the importance of strong legislation, of reporting, of support for victims and of a coordinated approach in our work with victims, and outlines the actions that we will take in each of these areas. Sexual assault treatment units carry out really important work under the remit of the HSE, and the Department of Health and I very much appreciate and support their 24/7 work all around the country in Dublin, Galway, Cork, Waterford, Mullingar and Donegal. A sexual assault treatment centre is a safe place to go and can provide health checks, medication and can carry out an exam to get evidence following a sexual assault or a rape. Historically, the criminal justice system has not treated victims of sexual violence in a way that instilled confidence in it, but we are working to change that so that more victims will feel empowered to report what has happened to them. The significant rise in the numbers of attending the units mirrors the increased reporting across the criminal justice system. My department is continuing to reform the system to make it more victim-centred, evidence-informed, to strengthen the relevant legislation provisions and ensure that Gardaí are properly resourced. While I am determined to strengthen our legislation in this area, I know this is only one element of what is needed. Building the confidence of victims of sexual crimes so they will report what has happened and get the justice that they deserve is also key. I am also very aware of the importance of comprehensive and robust data in this area. That is why my department commissioned the CSO to undertake a national survey of the prevalence of sexual violence, the results of which are expected next month. This would provide an important baseline for evaluating the vital work across all government under our zero tolerance strategy. So while we might all wish that crimes of this type never take place, it is a positive that people are reaching out for help, and we will continue working across the whole of government to encourage more victims to come forward. When people experience assault, they should feel safe and confident to come forward and get help. That is the cornerstone of the action set out in supporting a victim's journey, a number of which have already been implemented, including increasing funding for NGOs, providing accompaniment, information and support services, the complete rollout of divisional protective services units, and the introduction of a specialised sexual offences unit in the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Thank you.
Shockingly, only about 60% of the crimes that were the people who presented at these units actually went and reported these crimes to the Gardaí, and that figure actually fell last year. And there's no evidence that there's an increase in the number of people who are reporting these as a proportion of the number of crimes that are happening at all, in truth. Ireland is becoming a more violent country in terms of sexual crime significantly over the last 10 years. In 2011, there was 1,958 sexual offences recorded. In 2021, the figure increased 75% to 3,433 sexual offences. In 2011, there were 447 rapes recorded. In 2021, it had doubled to 983. It's getting far worse. And there are obviously a number of factors leading to this. One of the factors that I would suggest that's leading to this is that there is a massive level of consumption of hardcore pornography by young children in this country, and this government has done absolutely nothing in its efforts to stop that.
Thank you, An Garda. As I say, in relation to the data, that's why we have commissioned the CSO to undertake a national survey to establish the prevalence of sexual violence and results, which I say is expected next month. And that's to establish, in terms of the increasing reporting, is it increase of events of sexual violence, or is it increasing of people reporting what's happened to them? We need to create that situation where people feel confident and safe coming forward, and that's certainly a key cornerstone of our strategies in terms of helping people come forward and combating all forms of sexual and gender-based violence is an absolute priority, and the government has put in terms of legislation and in terms of funding and policy, in terms of helping support people to come forward and feel safe in doing so.
Okay, so Children at Risk Ireland is a specialist professional organisation that deals with children who have been abused sexually. And they found that in the last 2 years there has been a 44% increase in the number of cases of sexual abuse happening on children by children. There is a massive problem with the issue of consumption of hardcore pornography amongst children in this country. I spoke to a parent at Christmas who looked at a screen that a child was using. There was 2 searches. One was for Santa Claus and the other was for hardcore explicit pornography. And that's happening right across the country at very young ages at the moment. And we've seen cases like the Anna Criagel case, where shockingly there was a dark history there of children consuming very, very explicit material. It is distorting young children's understanding of what is healthy relationships. In France, they are banning now children consuming this material because they're saying that if you want to consume this material, you must prove your age. I've produced a bill that it does exactly the same here, puts the pressure on the internet service providers to make sure that they know the age of the people consuming this material so that children don't consume it. We can stop this, and that could help in trying to resolve this very serious issue.
The government is very much aware of the serious situation around young people and what they can access online, and this is a cross-government approach to address this very serious situation. And work on this has been led by the new Domestic Sexual Gender-Based Violence Agency, also working with the Department of Education and with the Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth, and will build on successes of previous awareness-raising campaigns as well. We can't be naive either. Simply putting in, a ban, in terms of stopping access to, that would stop access to legal sites. But anybody who uses the internet knows very well how to work around those in terms of access.
Child, come on, like you're talking about 10, 12-year-old kids
Deputy,
here.
please.
Well, that's how the internet works now, Deputy. And I think it's a little bit naive to say it's simply if we put a ban into something that's
so
going to
let's just sit in
prevent
our hands.
No, absolutely not what we're saying, Minister. Our Deputy, we are doing a huge amount of work in relation to this area. There's a lot of bodies we've put in place, and we are addressing this very serious situation. We will have to address all of the areas in terms of how we address it, and not simply taking a simplistic approach towards it either.